Chapter 1 Scapegoat. The moment the gavel hit the judge's desk, her fate would be sealed. No longer was she the outstanding citizen or the honor roll college student. Her hopes and dreams seemingly crumble away. Caitlyn is now a criminal. Deep down, the young adult knew something was off about the trial, but having no knowledge of the justice system, she accepted her heavy sentence. 15 years in federal prison without parole. She never thought working hard and doing everything her mother told her to do would land her in Piltover Federal Penitentiary. Caitlyn, now dressed in neon orange, stands with little belongings she owns outside her new cell. She doesn't want to accept this would be her new home for the next stretch of her life. The guard sneers at her and opens the door. Even the prison guards have a distaste for her because of who her mother is. That and the amount of wealth the Kierman name holds these days. The door closes behind her. She turns to see the room as much like a dorm room at Piltover University. There are 2 bunk beds mounted on a white brick wall. They're just wide enough for one small person to sleep on. Beside the beds is a tiny slab of metal mounted on the wall to act as a table, and on the opposite side of the room is a toilet sink combo. That they didn't have it in university. Caitlyn takes the top bunk, figuring that there would be a bit more room for her longer legs to hang off of, instead of constantly kicking the small metal table. She ties her bag of things to hang off the edge of her bed, and lays on the criminally thin foam this facility calls a mattress. Before she knows it, she drifts off to sleep. Her mind is wondering if her mother could appeal her sentence any sooner. The young Kierman wakes to shouting. She bolts up and hits her head against the ceiling, forgetting where she was for a moment.
Shit!
She holds her forehead between her hands. The commotion gets louder. It's like whatever is going on outside of her cell is moving down the road towards her.
Inmate transfer. Open cell 96.
A guard shouts, and the door to Caitlyn's cell opens. Fuck you! The redhead in cuffs spits on the irritated guard, and the guard retaliates by punching her in the mouth. The inmate is thrown into a cell, and the door is slammed behind her. Hey, what about my shit? She bangs on the door, but the guard is long gone. She then turns to see Caitlyn on the top bunk, watching her carefully. Wise. The redhead flops on the thin foam mat on the bottom bunk and lets out a long, frustrated groan. They just do this just to piss you off, you know? They come and toss your cell and throw you in a new one. Welcome to the real Piltover. She bitterly laughs. Caitlyn lays back on her bunk, not knowing what to do, now that she has time and nothing to occupy it. She stares at the ceiling and imagines herself getting ready for graduation. What she would be actually doing if she was acquitted or this whole situation never happened. She imagines herself standing at the podium, giving her valedictorian speech and waving to the crowd of hundreds of students. She has accomplished every goal set by her mother. Well, up until this point. But she's proud of making her mother proud? Caitlyn shakes her head. Her mother is working on getting her out. She only needs to stay out of trouble for what? A few days? A few weeks? Yeah, something like that. Then she can look back on this incident and have a few traumatized laughs. The Kierman's train of thought is halted by the sound of heavy breathing and grunting below. She isn't that innocent. She can take a fair guess what her cellmate might be doing just below her. Caitlyn slowly leans over the edge of her bunk. A wicked part of her wants to confirm her suspicions. Instead, she sees an angry redhead on her bunk, doing sit-ups. Oh, maybe she's a bit of a perp for assuming. Hey, what the fuck? The redhead shouts. Without hesitation, she jumps up and grabs Caitlyn's head and pulls her out of her bunk. The Kierman flips onto her back on the way down. She groans in pain from hitting the floor, and the strong hands are still gripping the sides of her head. Listen here, if you spy me again, there's gonna be a rusty shiv sticking out of your back. Got it. Her cellmate growls. Her nose is almost pressed against her own. It's definitely not the time to be thinking about it, but Caitlyn thinks in a strange way the redhead is really cute up close. The angry woman rolls her eyes at her silently blushing cellmate. You're not gonna last long here. She drops Caitlyn. I'll make you a deal. This is a one-time offer. Now released from the dangerously hot woman's grasp, the young Kierman brushes herself off and stands up.
I'm listening.
You get me anything I want, and I mean anything. And in return, I'll protect you. Help you navigate this place. She holds her hand out with a wicked smile. Caitlyn hesitates.
What's the catch? You surely can't be doing this out of the goodness of your heart.
Besides being bored out of my mind? The redhead points at Caitlyn's boots. Those aren't prison issued. They look new, and you look well kept. You're definitely for money, which means you can get stuff I want easier. That also puts a target on your back. I wouldn't be surprised if your boots went missing by the end of the day. Caitlyn nervously chews on her bottom lip, feeling like she's being pushed into a corner with no way out.
Fine. No drugs.
She doesn't want to add to her time here. 15 years is a long time already. Fine. No drugs. Caitlyn takes the deal and shakes her cellmate's hand. After all, she wouldn't be here that long.
My name is Caitlyn Kierman.
The redhead smiles. This time, it's less sinister and more kind-hearted. Vi Brewster. So, how long are we going to be having this agreement for? Caitlyn gulps, not wanting to believe she's going to serve out her full sentence.
15 years.
The rumor of Vi having a Kierman wrapped around her finger quickly spread through the prison like wildfire, even to the point where the guards are aware of how to treat the two women together. Caitlyn knows the rules by now, but the guards seem to easily ignore them, such as going long periods of time without walking by or peeking in the cell to give them more privacy. They even allowed Vi to get her hands on contraband without repercussion. Well, Vi could only get contraband if Caitlyn requested it, and of course paid for it. But it seems worth the cash for protection, or at least that's how she explained the situation to her mother. What was a little hard to justify to her mother was a Gun Girls Monthly subscription. Her mother never liked the idea of her being lesbian. Eventually, Caitlyn still got her way with the girly magazine, and Vi thanked her by giving her extra tater tots. The giving of tater tots means the two are thick as thieves and practically joined at the hip. During rec time, the two stand in their usual corner, waiting for the queen bitch Savinka to play basketball on the opposite side of the yard. Vi and Savinka have a long history full of blood together. The redhead is sure the second she lets her guard down, the other woman's going to try snapping her neck. She's still mad about losing her arm. I mean, I don't blame her, but at least the government gave her a cool hexed robot one. She gets to keep tools in her cell. Vi pouts, crossing her arms. She's jealous of the cool things Savinka could make, but doesn't. Caitlyn smiles and pats a shorter woman on top of her head, like she's one of her bloodhounds. Their relationship has morphed into a friendship over the course of the past few months. Maybe they're on the verge of being more than friends. After all, spending every waking moment with an attractive person for 9 months can't do that.
What did you do to her? Bite her arm and give her mutt rabies?
Caitlyn jokes. The smaller of the two does have some canine attributes, such as her tendency to bite when she gets into a fist fight. Pfft, nah. Vi shamelessly boasts, showing the long scar on her forearm. She stabbed me with a shank. I pulled it out and gave it right back to her in her shoulder, but her wound got infected. It was more cost-effective for the state to lob off the arm and give her a replacement than to cure the infection and reattach nerves. She shrugs. Don't start shit you can't finish. Caitlyn shakes her head.
You fought over food, didn't you?
Those were my Girl Scout cookies. Vi once again pouts, leading her taller friend to hug her from behind. Another thing Vi introduced to cold Kierman while in prison: affection. In the beginning, Caitlyn was sure that excessive touching from Vi was going to lead her to what normally happens to rich, innocent girls in prison. Vi just wanted to have a physical connection with someone, kind of on the same level as when she was a child with her little sister. A sister she hasn't seen in 7 years, but often writes to. Caitlyn doesn't know which cosmic being she made happy to let her have the best cellmate in history, but she would happily murder for them if it meant more good fortune in this bleak and dreary place. The two pace up and down the opposite side of the yard where Savinka is, until the guards usher the prisoners back to their cell. Vi takes a few moments of the crowded chaos to swap items with a clean sleight of hand, not that the guards would see or care. Once Vi slides the door shut behind her, she jumps for joy for the small items she was able to get her hands on, with more bartering than she originally expected. The redhead kicks off her dirty boots by her bunk and goes to the back wall with a small black marker. Vi writes on the wall in very messy handwriting, "Vi was here," and draws tally marks of how long she's been in prison for. Old Caitlyn would have stopped her cellmate from defacing property, but spending almost a year in prison has changed her into more of a rebel. The Kierman is still bitter that her mother isn't doing more to help her with appeals or hire a new lawyer to take on her case. She doesn't want to lose hope, but she feels like her mother has abandoned her to this cruel world. Caitlyn smiles at Vi's laughter and returns to reading her law book, something she picked up from the prison's library earlier in the week. She figures she can use her education and business to help her get out or find an explanation why her appeals aren't reaching anyone. Vi told her she gave up on the system the moment she was convicted. She claims to be innocent of a crime she never disclosed to Caitlyn, which makes the taller woman wonder, late at night, what did Vi do to end up here? She figures it would be something along the lines of assault or murder, due to her explosive attitude. The weeks blur together, the affection grows, and the strange items Vi requests get more strange. Vi idly flips through her favorite issue of Gun Girls Monthly, looking lovingly at the hot models posing with deadly weapons. She happily sighs at the model seductively grinding on a Winchester repeater, and thinks of how much this woman looks like her cellmate. "What's your favorite gun?" Caitlyn folds down the corner of a newer law book and leans over the side of her bunk.
Huh? Favorite gun?
She ponders the question for a moment.
I would never say any lever action. My family used to hunt for sport when I was younger, and I would use my mother's repeater.
Vi smiles and tears a page from the magazine. She holds it up to her bunkmate. "I found you! Isn't she fucking hot?" Caitlyn sputters and hides back in the safety of her bunk, as Vi tapes the picture on the wall next to her shared bunk. "Oh, don't be such a prude, Cupcake. You see me naked on a daily basis. And I don't even charge you."
There aren't walls in the shower room.
The woman covers her hot face with her cold hands. Vi smirks, knowing Caitlyn likes to steal glances when her back is turned, but she doesn't say anything. Instead, she returns to her magazine and dreams of living in a mansion like the ones the models are in.